9.6. Thank you so much. Get up for that storyteller. All right, audience, I want to say that you're beautiful and you're doing amazing right now, keeping this room filled with love. And our next storyteller, a familiar voice, we love to hear him. Welcome Jen Rubin to the stage. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I kind of let my coach down this last go around, but I'm not going to touch it. Okay.
All right. So it took me climbing a glacier to get a new perspective on life. I don't know if it was the altitude or what, but it suddenly occurred to me that my life sucked. I wasn't doing the work I wanted to do. I was still in the Midwest. I hadn't managed to get back to New York City. And I hadn't had a relationship that lasted longer than a few months. And maybe it was the altitude, I don't know. But it became clear to me suddenly that the problem was that I was just too passive, that I didn't take any risks, and that from this day forward, I was going to be spontaneous. So I got back home, and I told my friends this. I was pretty excited about the new plan. And they said, you can't actually plan to be spontaneous. Do you misunderstand the word? But I knew I was onto something, and it was going to happen. So fast forward a little while, I started dating someone, and we were together, 6 months, 9 months. And we were in the kind of cagey stage of a relationship where I don't know how I feel about you. How do you feel about me kind of thing? And I don't know about moving with you to New York, that kind of thing. And so I was sort of getting stuck in inertia, and I had spent many years in inertia, and I was hoping not to spend more time there. And I went out for drinks with one of my very practical friends, and I was having one of those kind of evenings you can have in your 20s where you sort of dissect your life in excruciating detail, every inch of it. And as we were talking, she said to me, and Ruth was a problem solver, and I was not a problem solver. She said, it sounds to me like you should just propose to Matt. Matt was my boyfriend. And I thought about it for a minute, and I realized the only relationships I had managed to sustain for longer than 4 months were the unrequited ones that I had been in. And I was looking to not have a longer relationship that was requited. And so I thought about it, and I said, that's a great idea, because that really sounds like something a spontaneous person would do. So I am going to propose. And so by the time I got home, I was pretty sure I wasn't going to propose anymore. But I walked in the door, and my housemate handed me the phone, and it was Ruth, my practical friend, and she said, "So what's your plan?" And I said, well, I don't really have a plan. And she said, okay, what are you doing Saturday night? And I said, well, actually, as luck would have it, I'm going to the movies, so I can't propose. And she said, well, what are you doing Friday night? And she got me because I had no plans. So I said, I'm going to propose to Matt. And I hung up the phone, and I quickly called Matt before I chickened out, and I said, pick me up on Friday, look good. And called an Italian restaurant in town, made a reservation. And then it occurred to me that I had only 4 days to prepare. So on Monday, I tried on every outfit in my closet till I found the one I looked best in. Tuesday, I drove through a snowstorm to get the engagement leather jacket, because I figured I had to give him something. And then on Wednesday, I developed sort of my fail-safe plan, because I really hoped that with this new perspective on life, I was going to be bold while I did this bold thing of proposing. But I also knew myself, and if only one thing went wrong, I would be completely derailed. I would probably say something so self-effacing, he would have no idea that I proposed. So I made sort of like a Burma shave on index cards, and on each index card, I wrote one thing I loved about him, color-coded. And then on the last one, it said, therefore, ... And that would be my cue to propose. And I really hoped I wouldn't use this. I really hoped I'd be bolder than that, but it just made me feel good knowing that it was tucked away in the leather jacket box. So then Thursday, what did I do Thursday? Oh, Thursday, I thought about every possible answer he could give me. I thought there were 9. And so I kind of wrote out an answer for each one. And then on Friday, I took the day off of work, and I rented romantic comedies to get in the mood. And then I realized I couldn't just stick the leather jacket in my purse, so I went and dropped it off early at the restaurant. And I said, could you bring this out with the dessert? And they said, sure. What's the occasion? And so I said, well, it's his birthday, which some of you are smarter than I was at the time, because I thought, well, what if he said no, and then I'd be embarrassed in front of total strangers? So that's what I did. So anyhow, fast forward to the meal, and it's clear something is a little off because I'm not eating. And then they come for dessert, and they ask what we want for dessert, and Matt, in an unprecedented move, said, I'm full and I don't want dessert. And so I, in also sort of an unprecedented move, because I usually eat all the bread at restaurants, I said, actually, I want dessert. We must have dessert. So Matt goes and excuses himself because he doesn't know what's about to happen, but he knows something's about to happen. So the dessert comes out. There's, as you can imagine, the candle on the pie, and they're singing Happy Birthday, and it's one of those restaurants where all the waitstaff sings Happy Birthday, and the whole restaurant singing Happy Birthday, and Matt's just saying it's not my birthday. I'm making eye contact with nobody. And then they leave, and then Matt looks at me, and I pull out the index cards in defeat, and I hand it to him, and I'm like, just read it. So he reads each card, he gets to the therefore ... I do rise to the occasion, and I do ask him if he will marry me, and he does say yes right away, which is lovely. But I can't really leave it there, because the problem is that I hadn't told my instinct about my new perspective, and my instinct has screwed me my whole life. And so I said, are you sure? Don't you need a little time to think about it? Because that was what I thought he would say. But he was sure, and he didn't need any time. Thank you.
That the epiphany of taking more risk happened on the top of a glacier. That. Shout out to all the overachievers in the building. I love you. You are my people. We have to get this thing done. One more time for that story. Gonna ask Esty to make their way. Esty Deners. Say it again. Denor. Thank you. Esty Denor to make her way to the stage. Fantastic. While she's making her way, how are we doing? Fresh air, we set? Fresh air, what do we have for this story? We have a 9-point